for Monday, July 20th. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Kennedy is absent. Mr. Popovich is absent. Mr. Sheeran?
Here.
Ms. Wooland?
Here.
Mr. LaRue?
Here.
Mr. Eberly?
Here.
Mr. Decker?
Here.
Mr. Panzik?
Here.
Okay. Approval of minutes from our last meeting on June 15th. Did everyone get a chance to read those that Rick sent out? Issues, any approval of minutes by anybody? Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th, 2020.
Nancy's given us a motion. Do we have a second? Motion carries. New business. First is 2020-0004.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong.
You
And
didn't have to vote.
who was the second? And then
I'm
we will
sorry.
need to have a
Second was
vote.
Brendan Sheeran. And we didn't
Okay,
ask you right.
and
We didn't go
somebody-
for a vote. I'm sorry.
Somebody joined online. Was that Drago? Is that you?
This is actually Pat Trichler.
Okay.
Okay. So I think, and maybe Attorney Decker could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think since all members are on site, we don't necessarily have to do a roll call vote, since none of the actual board members are attending virtually. Is that correct?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so I guess we can do however you would normally do it in a normal meeting.
So you just need to call for a vote on the motion.
We'll call for an order to the approval of minutes from June 15th. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Margaret. So the first order of business is 2020-004, Pat Trichler at 10170 Joliet Street. Petitioner is seeking the variance to construct a detached garage as a metal pole building that is 6 feet to the peak of the roof. The variance would be from zoning ordinance section 5F2 for detached garage, 10A for metal post buildings, and 11B3 for the height.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could set the table for this one, you might recall that Mr. Trichler had a representative here last month, and we discussed two of these three things. The third thing was that we couldn't discuss, was the metal post building.
Yes.
Because it inadvertently was left out of the advertisement for the notice for the newspaper and the notice to surrounding property owners. And I take responsibility for that. I put that together and I missed that metal post building component of the request. So anytime you have a detached garage, you have to seek a variance these days. Since 2009, when the zoning ordinance changed, it became a requirement to seek a variance for a detached structure regardless of its size or height. So that's variance number one, request number one. Detached garages are limited to 14 feet to the peak of the roof, and this one is projected to be 16 feet to the peak of the roof. And then it would be of metal post building construction, and there are some pictures here that I'll show you. This is the floor plan for Pat's garage, and it does comply with the size, with the square footage regulations in our zoning ordinance. I believe it was just shy of the maximum he could go for. You're allowed 1,100 square feet in garage space on a lot that is less than 30,000 square feet. If your lot exceeds 30,000 square feet, you're allowed another 540 square feet for a total of 1,640. And this, I believe, was in the neighborhood of 1620. It is, in fact, 54 by 30 is 1620. So size-wise, it's fine. It just needs a height variance, a variance in the first place for a detached garage, and a variance for the materials that it is proposed to be constructed of. All items are in order for this petitioner to proceed. He has placed the notice in the newspapers and sent them to the surrounding property owners, and he had the sign on the property at least 15 days in advance of the meeting. And Mr. Tritchler is with us virtually.
Okay. Mr. Tritchler, would you like to tell us about your building?
Yeah, I think my builder explained to everybody last month about it, so I don't know if you need me to talk about it any more than that.
Well, we'd like to know what the buildings, we'd seen some different drawings here, and it was brought up last meeting that the materials being used were just all metal in a pole barn style, which goes against the variance in our regulations. So we were hoping to
Yeah,
hear more about what
so-
you were going to build the building of.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you've seen my next door neighbor's building, but it's ideally the exact same building, minus the colors would match my dwelling.
Right, this,
He was able to get the pole barn to pass, I think it was in 2014. But the building, like I said, is going to look the exact same as his.
So we need to turn him up a little louder?
I'm sure Jason is monitoring us, and if you are, Jason, is there a way to
Bump up the volume.
increase the volume? It's hard to hear Pat when he's speaking.
Okay. Pat, let's try it again, see what else you can tell us about the building. So what, you're going to change what about the building from our last meeting?
No, I was just trying to say that the exact building that I'm trying to build is going to be the exact same as like my next door neighbor that had built his pole barn in 2014, I want to say. The only thing that is different from the next door neighbors is mine is a little bit longer, and the colors of it is going to match my house.
Okay.
And
Sorry, getting hard of hearing in my old age.
It's on his side.
Pat, can you refresh our memory? Your lot is, I know it's more than an acre. Was it 1.7 acres?
yes, my lot's 1.78 to be exact.
Weirder now, man.
Well, we've got the Wizard of Oz going on.
Bear with us, Pat, we're having some technical issues here.
No, that's okay.
Brian, I think your microphone needs to be muted, please. Were you guys able to hear Mr. Tritchler, or do you need me to repeat what he said? Were you able to hear him?
You're able to hear him, we were just asking to pump up the volume here.
Sometimes you have to get a little closer to the microphone. If you can hear me louder, I have a microphone right by my mouth.
There we
So he might need to get just a little closer.
It's actually much better now that Jason's taking care of that. Hope you don't get too much feedback from this thing.
That's why I'm trying to keep the speakers away from the microphones.
Good luck. Thank you.
I think we heard Mr. Tritchler say that the lot is roughly 1.7 acres in size, a very deep lot. I can bring that up and show it to you on the county GIS while you're taking any other questions or comments.
Does the board have any questions or comments? Nancy?
I had thought at our last meeting that we had asked for some brickwork or stonework.
We
For-
asked it
okay.
to match the same materials as the house.
Okay. And from what he's saying, this rendering is matching the house.
Color-wise.
Yes.
I got you.
right.
Okay.
Materials, it's not going to match because
It's gonna be
he's
the
asking
same.
for a variance for the metal post construction, but the colors are matching the house.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. No questions from anybody else? I guess we'll open up for public comment. Any questions or monetizations?
And, Mr. Chairman, I received no remonstrances in my office.
Okay.
Of any kind.
Anyone sign up? We get a list of the, no one signed? Okay. I guess it comes back to us. Does anybody else have any comments or have any motions or anything else? Or if I'm missing something. Oh, you got that. Okay, sorry. Didn't know you had that.
I would just make the comment, Mr. Chairman, that this is a development standards variance. All three are development standards variances that Mr. Tritchler is requesting. So they all fall completely within your purview.
Yep.
These are not recommendations to the town council. These are for you, for this board to decide.
Do we know from other buildings or from the neighbors out, the neighbors building, I guess how did it get constructed, if we have that kind of information, but also what's the height of that? And we can know that kind of information, Rick?
I'm going to go
Is
to that.
14, it seems, is our, what our limit is, and he's going to 16, that's the first
Right.
issue.
And, which is not at all uncommon in a building this size.
Sure.
Brendan probably is more familiar with that than I am even, but this is a 30 by 54 foot building. Have to be a pretty flat roof to get to 14 feet. I don't know, Brendan, you have any comment on that?
No, you're right. 16's probably still keeping each other roof.
Yeah. His builder mentioned that last
Okay.
month,
I
that he's
didn't recall
done,
that.
he's tried to keep it as low as he could keep it. I will also go to Google Earth, since I can go to Street View on Google Earth.
Just out of curiosity, if we had the ability to do that.
This is Mr. Tritchler's property that's highlighted on the screen in front of you. The one he's talking about is his neighbor to the west of him has a pole building on their property as well, that they got a variance, I believe it was 2016, that they received their variance.
Is that a metal pole barn too?
It is, yeah. It's metal post building construction, yes. And I'll get you there on Google Earth so you can see that construction. You know, it's not even, it's, yeah, there it is right there, so. Let's hope it's there in the street view because they're not taken at the same time. Yeah, there it is. So that's the neighbor's property and Pat's is over here with a fence around it.
Yep.
Hard to tell exactly how tall that is, but my guess is that's over 14 feet as well.
Can you go to to
Yeah.
his property to see, I want to see what is on the other side of, that's a subdivision now, correct?
All across the street.
No,
No,
in back of
To
him.
the
Going
east
back
of
of-
Pat?
Yeah, yes.
All right. No, there's one lot between, Pat's over here, and then there's this lot before you get into the subdivision.
Okay,
So there is a lot between Pat and the next one. And the subdivision, I mean.
Okay, thank you.
Not sure why Google Earth did that.
It's all on the camera.
There, okay. That's Pat's property.
Okay. So if you have no public comment, we'll close public comment, go back to the board. So does anyone have any questions for Mr. Tritchler or any other comments to his variance request?
And you have his floor plan in hard copy in front of you, along with three
Yes.
photos
sir.
that he sent.
Could I ask where the location of that pole barn is on the lot?
It is 7 feet off of the east property line, Mr. Pancic, and in fact, it's a little bit behind. He has a detached structure now. It's either a one-car or one-and-a-half-car garage. Sorry that it's not letting me get right to it, but, and that's getting in the way. So let's just exit street view. But he will be 7 feet off of that side property line and behind where this existing garage is. He's required to keep a minimum 5-foot side yard setback, and he's going to have it, he would have it 7 feet.
It's replacing that structure then?
He's going to be taking this down and building the new one a little bit behind that. Yeah.
So those couple of trees, well, I think they may stay. It's hard to tell where they're coming from. They look a little east. Okay.
Let me see if I've got the,
That's what I recall from the last meeting, he did say they were taking the old structure down.
right.
So the new structure is gonna, right where the driveway terminates, that's where I imagine he's gonna put the building?
That's what I recall from the last meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, just to chime in, so the new building's actually gonna go behind the tree. I can't see what you're looking at from my end. So there's a tree directly behind the garage there right now. And it's gonna be just north of the tree. So from the road and from the neighbors that are to the east of me, you really won't be able to see the building all that much.
So there's we're looking at the survey now, Pat, and it shows you've got a comment on here, existing garage to be removed, and you're showing the location of the proposed structure and that it's 7 feet off of that east property line. There is by the way, there's a odd 15-foot strip between Pat's property and the property to the east of him that is owned by neither Pat nor his neighbor to the east. It actually goes back, if I can zoom out here, it goes back to the acreage that is north of Pat's house, and I'll show you that on Google Earth here in a moment. But this 15-foot strip here is not included. So Pat's 7 feet off of that, so he's 22 feet
Off of the
off of the neighbor's property line
Okay.
altogether. So this 15-foot strip goes back here and services this
north,
property that's north of Pat's property. And if I can get back to it, this mouse is not behaving. Yeah, it's this 15-foot strip here that goes back and services this, serves as an access point to this property here. Yeah, that's,
Bizarre.
yeah. But if I were to select this property on GIS, it's this property that 15-foot access serves, so. I think the tree that he was referencing shows up better, shows up better on Google Earth. So the new structure would be
Go
north of
behind
this
that,
tree.
okay.
Right.
I thought that was replacing exact footprint of the other
Yeah.
one.
No.
Mr. Tritchell, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, unless anybody has any more questions.
Okay. We have no questions on this end. I guess I'm going to bring it to a vote. Does anyone have any kind of comments or,
So I have a question. So we're looking for 3 variances here.
correct?
That's correct.
Do we have to approve all 3 of them?
You can do them individually, or you can make one motion to approve all 3, whichever you'd prefer to do.
Okay.
And I would like to make a motion. Any more questions? Mr. Panzik? I have nothing else to add to that.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3.
Okay? Want to read the,
I approve, the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or the general welfare of the community. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and that strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. I don't have any conditions or contingencies to add. And
okay.
motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion to approve.
Okay. Take a vote. All in favor, aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. Mr. Tritchler, congratulations. Good luck on your building.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next order of business is 2020-005. I'm probably going to butcher your last name, Cali Salas, 10688
That
Fairview.
is-
Well, virtual, okay. Sorry. Fairview Place petitioner is seeking a variance to build a private fence that would cross the side yard setback on the corner side of her lot. The application zoning ordinance is section, chapter 13, section 5, F5, C, II 2B. It's a long one.
And Mr. Chairman, all items are in order for this petitioner to proceed as well. Met all the deadlines, all the filing, and as you mentioned, this is a corner lot, and in order to cross the side building line on a corner lot with a privacy fence of any height, you need a variance. So they are seeking a variance to extend their fence towards their sidewalk. They propose to set it back 3 feet from that sidewalk and run it from the back of their house towards the back of their property line.
Okay.
I'm bringing up a picture here that would show the Salas's house faces to the bottom of the screen. This is to the left, this street on the left is their side yard. And they face Fairway Place, which is to the bottom of this screen. They want to come out from the back corner of their property over to that point and come down here to meet this fence. Yes, with a 6-foot privacy fence.
Is the neighbor to the, I think it says at the north,
That's the west.
the west? Can we get is there any picture of that, or we can look and see what that looks like, just to,
Sure.
as a
we can go to-
comparison?
Go up higher.
Well, that's the picture that, yeah, that Callie provided, so if we, I'm sorry, it's not there in Google Earth, and it won't be there in,
New development.
yeah, it's too
Okay.
new to be on the aerial photos.
I mean, he's tying in with the fence to the west of him.
Right,
I mean, it looks silly for him
offset it.
to offset it.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's any questions, but.
Kelly, would you like to tell us about what you're planning on doing with your fence here? And we'll go from there.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to attend virtually. We are requesting the side yard setback fence here on our corner lot. We are asking that it be placed from the back end of our property, the back end of our home, so we would not obstruct any view here on the corner. It's, more than halfway through our lot. We're requesting it, we have small children, we're requesting, at some point in time to have a pool put in, and we'd like the privacy and a little bit of extended use of our lot, so as to not lose on that much property as we would be currently.
And Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would also bring to your attention that this is a full three-way stop here, stop sign situation now. It's not in this picture, but there's a stop sign for east-west travel, and of course, a stop sign from Fairway on to this street here. So
No line of sight issues.
there's no line of sight issues. In fact, I probably got this turned, there we go. There's the stop sign. There's the Salas's house here.
Okay.
The fence would come out here and go back to meet this one here. But there, again, there's a three-way stop at all approaches to this intersection.
So the neighbor to the west doesn't actually cut across their side yard then, because of the way the street curves.
The way the street curves, right?
Strange.
What kind of material are you using for the fence, Mrs. Salas?
6-foot vinyl privacy fence?
So it's going to match your neighbor's fence then, essentially?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, Mrs. Salas, give us a second. We'll see if there's any outstanding issues from anyone attending. Is there anyone here on that property? No?
Now, you just need to open the public hearing, ask for comment if there are.
Open
comments,
for
then-
public comment. No one's here for public comment. We'll open and close that. Everyone's shaking their head, no, they're not for that. I guess we'll bring it back to the board. For any questions or any,
No, I don't have any questions, and I'll make a motion to approve. Will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or the general welfare of the community. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property, including the buildings, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the project.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
So we've got Mr. Sheeran made the motion, and Nancy, I forget your last name, so I apologize. Wollens. Second. Well, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mrs. Salas.
Thank you very much.
Next order of business is 2020-0006 Dale Lenting at 10810 Schneider Place. Petitioner is seeking a lot variance at the above address. He intends to replace that plat with two existing non-conforming lots into one, which will fall short of the 15,000 square foot minimum lot requirement in Zone R2 district.
And Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I'll set the table for this one as well. This is a bit of a unique situation in that there are two lots that Mr. Lenting owns that he could build on individually right now because they meet the, under the legal non-conforming lot size regulations, Adam. He meets the requirement of at least 50 feet in width, and I believe it's 6,000 square feet. So he could build a house on each of these two lots. He would rather combine these into one lot and build one house on this property, a larger home than he would build on either of the other two independently. But oddly enough, when he does that, they don't comply with it doesn't result in a 15,000 square foot lot. It's 13,000 and change. So he needs a variance in order to go before the Plan Commission and plat this as a one-lot subdivision. Plan Commission cannot hear his request until and unless he gets a variance on lot size from the Board of Zoning Appeals. So, again, he wants to combine these two and build one home rather than build two smaller homes on the lots as they sit.
Okay.
What's the total square footage?
13,005 something, Dale? Do you have I know it's on the survey.
Mr. Lund, do you want to step up to the podium, please?
Thinking it's like
Two lots in-
13.6, but. Oh, there it is. Yeah, 13,535 square
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah. So it's about 10% under a standard R2 lot. Yeah, and you'll see that the home, like the home immediately next door, is built across two lots, across the lot line on two lots. That used to be permissible. It's not any longer. That's the other thing he could do, is just simply seek to get a variance to cross the two lot lines. But Dale and I discussed that and felt that it was cleaner to make this a one-lot subdivision than to try to do this, because in this case, in the case of the neighbor, I know from my mother's house was the same way. One lot will be assessed for tax purposes, property tax purposes, with the house on it. The other lot gets assessed as a vacant lot. And you get two separate tax bills when this is the case. This would be a cleaner situation if he were to combine the two lots.
So it's 12 and 13 we're looking at, is what you
Yes,
own.
12 and 13 is what he owns and would like to build on.
So to build on just the individual lot, and let's say he puts a 12 or 13, he can build on something on that, but tell me the non-conforming. That's the thing that, when I read this, I don't understand.
Right, he could build on 12 and 13 because they were legal size lots at the time they were platted
Okay.
and before we changed the regulations.
Gotcha. Okay, now I understand what you're talking about.
They have to be at least 50 feet wide and at least 6,000 square feet in order to qualify, and they do. So yes, he could build on either one of those, meet the 8-foot side yard setbacks and the front and rear yard setback, and build a smaller home on each of those lots. But he prefers to build a larger home on one lot. And you do have a copy of his, the Lenting's first edition as it's proposed to, that would be as he would propose it to the Plan Commission. But again, he can't propose this to the Plan Commission until and unless he gets a lot size variance.
I'm sorry.
Notice, go ahead, Brendan.
If he was just doing, I know you said this was cleanup, if he was just doing this where he built up the property line, and that would be a separate thing, but it would also be a variance we'd have to approve too.
Right, right.
And if we approve that variance, he wouldn't have to go to the plan.
He wouldn't even have to go to the Plan Commission, no, that's correct, that's correct.
So,
You'll see the lots, for example, even these that are across the street here, they don't meet today's R2 standards either. There's probably the only lot in there that meets the R2 standards is Mr. Lenting's lot itself, which is couple acres, right? Where you live,
7 acres.
Stephen? Yeah, okay. This is Mr. Lenting's property here, and what he's bought here are these two vacant lots. And for the record, Mr. Chairman, I have not received any remonstrances in my office on this matter either.
Okay. Is there anything else you can tell us about what you're doing other than just trying to get that cleaned up?
I'm just trying to build a nice house in a
understand.
nice area,
Understand.
and I live right
Okay.
there too, so.
Okay. Well, you have a seat. We'll open for public
Okay.
comment, and we'll see, and we'll go from there, okay?
Thank
We'll open for public comment when they have something to say. Yes, sir. Step up to the podium and announce it.
Ken Kaiser, I live directly across from the two lots.
Please step to the podium, sir. And your name and address, please.
Ken Kaiser, 10813 Snyder Place. I live right across the street. Previous to him owning it, that was a single-family home built across the two lots, like what he's proposing to do, and I'd rather see it to one lot to where he could build a nice home, and that would help the whole neighborhood. Instead of two tiny houses, that's not going to do us any good in that area.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Just please step up to the podium. Tell us your name and your address, please.
My name's Harold York. I live at 10802 Schneider Place. I'm the guy in lot 14 and 15.
Okay.
And like Ken said, okay, there was a single-family dwelling there for many years before it was taken down. And to fit in with the rest of the neighborhood, I personally would rather see one single-family dwelling there than two, okay? This is a nice, mature subdivision. I don't think there's anybody in there that hasn't been in there for at least 15 years or more. In fact, my family's been in that house since 1961. And in keeping with, the subdivision, I think that would be preferable, than to have two homes in there. And the only other thing I would like to see is that something, whatever's going to be built, kind of fits in with the subdivision. This is, like I say, this is an old subdivision that was built back in the 50s. The house I'm in was built in 58, and they're all prairie-style homes and stuff like that. And just so, you don't have something sticking out, like a sore thumb. This may not be the place for that discussion, but as far as the lot's concerned, I would much rather see one home there than two. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any public comment? No? We'll close the public comment section and move back to the board. Any other questions for Mr. Lenting at all?
No.
Questions or want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance. This approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. That the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will not result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Nancy, that's a will.
That's a will.
That's a
Will,
will.
I'm sorry, will.
You have a motion from Nancy.
I'll second it.
Mr. Sharon seconds. All, make a vote. All that are in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? There you go, Mr. Lenting. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Mr. Lenting, you understand that now the next step is to go before the Plan Commission to plat it as a one-lot subdivision and then go from there with your building permit application. Thank you.
Thank you all. Last thing on the agenda, not last thing, discuss changes to rules and regulations. If you want to do that now, or you want to wait?
Yeah, as you said last month, Mark, and I think it was appropriate, you want to wait till you've got your full board here.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's just the three of us, it's kind of wonky, so let's
There's
make it
no
so-
rush to do
hopefully
this.
Well, John won't be here next month either, so,
Yeah, so, but there's no rush to do this.
okay,
This is-
all right. Well, it's on the docket, so I thought I'd
Yeah.
Okay.
mention that. Mr. Panzik?
I would, if you have a moment, I would like to revisit that fence a while back. Rick, how did that not get across the side yard, that fence of the neighboring
Neighbor
house?
to the west, Paul, that's a code enforcement thing I have to go after.
Yeah.
When the Salises brought this to our attention, and they said they wanted to meet this fence that's in their rear yard, And I looked at that, and I saw where it crossed that same side building
Right.
setback line. And Mrs. Salas made the comment that the neighbor told her that somebody in my office told them they could do that. And I assured her that was not the case. So I went looking for that permit, and we prepared a permit for that property owner and discovered that they never picked it up. So they put a fence up without getting a permit. That permit, that dates back to 2018. And part of the biggest problem with that, Mr. Pancic, is that we don't inspect fences. We never have
Right.
traditionally inspected fences. So
Lester, what's the holes? So I got a call.
Yeah.
I think it was my house that had a big
Well-
piece of fence missing.
So I have to go after this property owner to enforce the setback on that fence.
Right, we need to inspect fences. I know it might be difficult, but even if it's just simply for that compliance, lot compliance, not necessarily anything else, but
What's
just,
unique about that property, though, it's that it kind of slopes in, there's,
Right.
from the
It's-
east to the west. I get it, I understand.
it's how they bought it.
I understand, I understand.
So I almost spoke up during the subject, and I understand Mr. Sheeran wanted it to meet, but our target to meet something, we're meeting something that's very non-compliant, wasn't even approved, wasn't even permitted. So we've never, I don't recall ever approving a fence so close to a sidewalk. Usually if they were gonna violate the side yard on a corner, we'd still make sure there was maybe at least enough for like 2 or 3 rows of a lawnmower, maybe some landscaping, but now they're gonna be 3 foot. It just might be dead grass. It's pretty skinny along that sidewalk, so
Well,
it's
you've
just
got
something
one over
to,
here on 93rd and what goes behind the church? What's at that street?
Kyleman?
Kyleman, there's that house on the corner. They have that big
But
picket
this is
fence.
another one where the regulation
I'm saying
changed
there's
in
not 3 foot there.
2009.
There's barely a
I
foot.
agree with what you're saying. I just assumed that other one was, like, I would normally have said no to that, but I thought it looked really silly for him to come in.
it would probably,
I thought the overall look for the neighbors and everyone was better to get, the two to tie in than have that.
and I
That
agree
was my
about the
logic.
meat, but knowing that that's non-compliant now, it might have been better to ask for a few, like maybe 3, I'm just for discussion for future, ask for more space on that fence, and that neighbor should have had to fix it to meet it, like,
Yeah, I didn't realize they weren't what.
Yeah,
Rich
again, I
said.
didn't think about asking that question either.
When I approach this gentleman, I'm going to tell him he's got 2 options. He can move the fence and become compliant, or he could seek an after-the-fact variance and come back before you.
Same boat again.
you are,
So I will
so.
say that since I've been here, there haven't been a lot of these kinds of variances, but 3 foot has been the rule of thumb since I've been here.
That's
for-
the bare, I don't
Bare
recall
minimum.
going that low. Because you don't want a situation where there's still enough room to walk down the sidewalk and, hold like a bag or something, or your arm's not gonna be hitting the fence, right? So at least there's a little bit of a buffer. But we've also in the past sometimes had people add landscaping or something to beautify it, so you don't have just like a sidewalk and a wall, essentially. That's why we have the
Bushes or
ordinance.
flowers or something. goes
Right,
along.
so that's why we have that ordinance. So it's just something to keep your eyes open for in the future. This one's, it's okay, but we could sometimes get better out of that situation, so.
But I agree to your point about inspecting fences, because there's a lot of new people coming into St. John, don't know the rules, like in our subdivision, there's a covenant. Some people don't know about that covenant, and it's not enforced.
Right.
But there's all kind of fences going up that look kind of hokey.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks think they can build right to the line with the fence, so,
Right.
Rick, I don't know what it'd take to get some inspection on those, but I think it's something that needs to be done. And again, it doesn't have to be a nut and bolt inspection, even if it's
Right.
just set your poles, and then we'll come and look at where they're at, kind of thing, or
Post-hole-
set your
post-hole
markings.
inspection.
We just want to make sure they're off the side yard, rear yard, like they're supposed to be. Beyond that, I don't really care
Yeah.
how they build it, like physically, it just needs to be in the right look. Because we've had a few now in the last year. We had one recently where we had to make them move it. So again, it's after the fact. So it'd just be so much easier if somebody could do a 10-minute drive-by and
Right.
take a peek at it, take a peek at GIS and say, yep, it's where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and actually, as I think of that, it can't just be a post hole inspection, because we do allow certain types of fences to cross that side property line. What we define as an open fence can cross the property line, so it can't be just a post hole inspection. It's gonna have to be an after, once the fence is up, then it would have to be an inspection, just, to make sure it's in the right place.
Right.
So but we can include that. We can start doing that that's just a policy in my office, Paul.
Yeah.
That doesn't take any kind of official action. We can just start
Yeah, I
doing
didn't
that.
realize that the neighbor didn't have
Neither did I.
Yeah.
approval for
And
what he did. I just made the assumption that it was already done before, and again, never assume.
Yeah, and even if he did have approval, as he said, so far they've not inspected, but now you're giving me that commitment, so I'm gonna hold you that. And, I mean, it's really, I know you guys are busy with inspections, but I see this as a 15-minute job, just
Oh, yeah.
a drive-by and say, yep, it's in the right place, or no, it's not.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's not difficult to do. But I was just upset that this neighbor told her that somebody in my office told him he could do it, and that is not the case.
Right.
And then, to find out that they didn't even pick up their permit. Because the permit would have shown where it
Right.
was obligated to go, yeah.
I guess from my point of view too, I should have said, does the neighbor have, and again, not knowing what can we ask of not only the neighbor, of you or whatever. What we're looking at, the picture here shows that the neighbor has this, were they approved, or how was that done? So I guess that's the question that we have to figure out.
Here are the findings for tonight.
Thank you, sir.
But yes, I'll be making contact with that property owner.
Who's secretary, Nancy? There's number one. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't adjourn the meeting. Rick gave me the papers, I went from there, so my inexperience is showing here. If there's no other further business, motion to
I make a
Public
motion
comment?
public comment, there's
Nobody
nobody here. Public comments
Okay,
open
I
and
couldn't
closed,
see,
thank you.
sorry.
Margaret, no, you're keeping me on task, and I it's still my third meeting doing this, I think, or maybe second, actually, so. Public comments open and closed, motion to adjourn the meeting, Nancy made the motion.
Right.
Second.
Motion- Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for my insanity. Please.
You're doing a fine job, Mr. LaRue.
Great job.
Just, if I can just offer a couple of observations. Nancy was corrected in the reading of the